Eliana exemplifies the mission of Night for the Fight by honoring her brother, Jonathan, who just a few years ago came out of that tunnel through the fog with all of our other champions. Eliana has been a top fundraiser for all 4 years of her high school. She's raised over $50,000 for cancer-free kids. Please give Eliana a warm welcome.
When I attended my first night for the fight, it wasn't because I was in high school and ready to stay up the whole night having fun. Instead, I attended my first night for the fight to watch my brother Jonathan speak one last time as a cancer survivor. I will never forget that night. My whole family was in our car, and we stopped by Cincinnati Children's Hospital to pick up Jonathan. This was the first time I had seen him for a week, and I was struck by how sick he looked. The change in his appearance became even more apparent when I watched him speak. I looked around at the auditorium at all of the teenagers, and it was in that moment that I realized that Jonathan was truly dying. He looked extremely pale and skinny, and he could barely speak. I remember sitting in the bleachers and sobbing as I realized that my worst nightmare was suddenly becoming a reality. On April 3rd, 2020, my grandmother called my sister and told us to be ready at the door so she could take us to the hospital. When she arrived, we all ran to her car, and she got out to help my youngest brother get in his seat. My youngest brother was 7 at the time, and he took one look at my grandmother's face and he started screaming. My grandma started to cry, and she just said to him, "I'm so sorry." It was at that moment that I realized that Jonathan had just passed away from cancer. I remember running into the hospital and going up to the room to see Jonathan. I stood by his bed and just held onto his hand, hoping that somehow I could bring life back into him. Jonathan's passing is the most terrible thing I've ever experienced. Getting up in the morning and continuing to live without a brother I had known my entire life felt impossible. I felt angry, frustrated, mad, numb, guilty, but one of the scariest emotions I felt was fear. Fear that Jonathan's memory would be lost, and fear for other families who might one day have to walk the same road as my family. I decided after Jonathan's death that I had 2 choices. I could stay bitter and angry, or I could try to make a difference for other children and give them a chance to grow up. I then got involved with Cancer for Kids and Night for the Fight. For the last 4 years, I've served on the leadership team and been the team captain for my fundraising team, Dr. After 4 years of spending my weekends pumping out texts and emails, I've raised over $50,000 for childhood cancer research. This money has gone on to help fund 3 research grants specifically for Jonathan's cancer, Ewing sarcoma. My grant recipient from 2022 received the accelerated grant from Cancer for Kids this year, so even more research is being pushed further. Cancer for Kids has given me the opportunity to fundraise, volunteer, and even speak to others about Jonathan's story and the need for more funding. Being able to volunteer with Cancer for Kids is the most beautiful thing that I have ever been a part of. Sadly, this is my last year of participating in Night for the Fight. It is also the last time for many of you today, so you're probably asking yourself the same question as I am. What's next? Each year, Cancer for Kids has an event called the 100-Mile Challenge, a 30-day fitness and fundraising challenge in the month of September to honor Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. You complete this challenge by completing 100 miles in September and raising $100 for Cancer for Kids. You can participate in this event from absolutely anywhere. It's a great way to stay involved with Cancer for Kids. Jonathan loved Night for the Fight and Cancer for Kids. I know that if he was here today, he would have worked tirelessly to fundraise and spread the word about the lack of research for childhood cancer. Well, Jonathan was not given the gift of more time. I was. And I know that what I'm doing today is what Jonathan would have wanted me to do. It is hard sometimes to go to events like this and to be reminded of the fact that Jonathan died and the cure was too late for him. However, over the years, I've also seen so many children with cancer survive. And I've had the privilege to watch them grow up. In some ways, when I look into those survivors' eyes, I see Jonathan. I see a child who gets to go home to their family, who gets to play sports, make new friends, who gets a chance to live. And I know that Jonathan would be so happy to see this. All of us in this room have been given the gift of more time. So the question today is, what are you going to do with yours? I know that I won't stop fighting, and I hope you will continue to fight as well. And if the person who has to sign light can hold up their sign, and then can change the world. One of Jonathan's favorite TV shows was Doctor Who, and one of my favorite quotes from this show is, "Some people live more in 20 years than others do in 80. It's not the time that matters, it's the person." Thank you, Jonathan, for teaching me and so many others that one light can change